Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nordic Championship. It is Thursday, and that means that we are in the Monster Energy DreamHack studio to deliver some League of Legends games for you. Henning, what are your thoughts about this day?
I mean, we're on to the second day already. It feels like the first day had some big upsets. I mean, a lot of unexpected results.
Absolutely.
Celestial Gaming really pulling out some impressive performances, and I think this edition of the Nordic Championship might be the closest one yet. I think the teams are very neck and neck.
Absolutely, and I truly hope so. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the standings because Celestial Gaming, they did so well, but they're actually down at 8th place after all the games that they have played so far. So, an impressive showing, but not taken all the way. Up at the top, it's Nuruki White with 2-0. Placeholder 123, 2-0 even them. Ventus Esports, Fortress, Ostersunds, FK, The Final Tribe, Nordic wins, Celestial Gaming, and Riptide in that order. So, Finland, also something that is quite surprising because we talked about this last Tuesday, that Finland kind of a dark region when it comes to League of Legends. There aren't that many teams, that many players we know of, and yet here they are in the top, coming up for day 2.
Yeah, for sure. This is a big surprise for me. I was expecting Denmark to be the really strong region, especially Ventus Esports are the big favorites here, in my opinion. But Nuruki White really having a good performance in day number 1, impressing on stream and then also impressing off stream, beating Östersund, perhaps the strongest Swedish team, pretty handedly. Speaking of Östersund, though, we'll be taking a look at them later on today.
Absolutely. Östersund FK will be playing today, and of course the placeholders as well. This is our first game, placeholder 123 versus Östersund's FK, followed up by Nordavind versus Ventus Esports later tonight.
Really looking forward to that second series where we got the big favorites of the tournament in Ventus, who actually lost a game versus Celestial, and Nordavind is the rank 1 seed from Norway, so they beat out Celestial. So
They've been very even with Celestial.
Yeah, but it's going to be a very hard challenge for Ventus, I think.
Absolutely. Ventus Esports really need to prove themselves. We've been talking a lot about the Danish teams, but for now, let's stick to the Swedish and Finlandic teams. Placeholder 1, 2, 3, and Östersund's FK. And also, for those of you who are wondering what this thing is right here, there is a box right here. And to be honest, I don't know what's in it either. We were told that we will open this box after the first match, and that is everything we know. So I just had to like call that out. That there's a box here. Don't worry, it's supposed to be there. It's not something that just happened to appear on screen with that, like we were shopping and forgot to take it out backstage. All right, but let's go back and focus on these two games because we've been talking so much about Finland. We've been talking so much about Norway. And now we're looking at Sweden versus Finland instead. And of course, we're going to wonder what will happen.
Yeah, for sure. We are jumping into the pick and ban right now. We are talking patch 9.3. And maybe the two champions that I spoke the most about not yesterday, on Tuesday, yeah, when we had the first games were Yasuo and SWE. Those are two very big standout champions for me at the moment. And we do see Yasuo on the banning list. So is still up for grabs, though.
Absolutely, and so being one of those really strong champions showed up in the games that Celestial Gaming played for last day. Also want to mention that the names up top, Fortress and Celestial Gaming, are not the teams that are playing right now. It's a little bit of a mishap, but it is placeholder 1, 2, 3 from Finland versus Östersund's FK from Sweden. And also talking about these teams, that's the Draven ban coming up right now.
Yeah, that's a big one that I was going to mention because Unforgiven here in the bottom lane for Östersund is a very famous for his Draven in particular, very strong on that champion. The other big AD carry that is still to be banned, though, is Lucian. I looked it up earlier. We've been having 43 professional games in the highest leagues on 9.3. Lucian's been banned in 41 of them. So only being open in 2 out of 43 games. I would expect the Lucian to come out there, and there it is. So maybe the Ezreal rises in priority here with both Lucian and Draven, the really aggressive AD carries off the table.
Absolutely. With Lucian off the table, Ezreal is definitely up for grabs, but let's have a look and see what the first pick will be here by Janji. We're going to have this being fixed right now, and I'm going to tell you that Janji right now picking the Thresh, another champion that we have seen a lot from.
Yeah, for sure. And the big star player for me on Placeholder123 is actually in the support position. It's not something you say a lot, but Sidon is very experienced in that support role and picking up sort of a support that you can kind of carry on in this Thresh is really fun to see. Would expect Shred to sort of try to counter this out with a defensive support like the Braum or the Tom Kench, but we'll see later on as Sion has been locked in for Östersund.
Absolutely, Sion also being one of those priority pick champions, and as Estrel was left open with Lucian off the table, Unforgiven is going to be playing this Spell Slinger down bot lane.
Yeah, that is pretty big. So the big crit 80 carries are still open for Spectre here, and I think you want to pick an 80 carry in this round of plays. Maybe the Kai'Sa could be a strong pick. Can contest Ezreal early on in the laning phase and also shred through the tanks like the Sign. And there is the SWE I mentioned, a very strong pick at the moment. Really provides a lot of poke. So would love to see Placeholder get some more poke champions on the team
Like,
as well.
it's so scary to play versus a Zoe, especially if you're playing versus a team that has good vision control. Those bubbles can come out of anywhere, and as soon as someone is hit, that is almost a guaranteed like 60 to 100% damage right there coming out of Zoe. Another champion that's interesting that I haven't talked that much about earlier is the Jarvan up for the top lane. Of course, Jarvan has been a jungler, but we've seen him a lot top lane, especially into the Zion. And now finally the last pick in the first rotation is the LeBlanc for Ostersunds FK.
At this point, Jarvan, I'd say, is still very much of a flex pick. Can go into the jungle as well. Would expect it to be a top lane to get some pressure onto Sion, but can be in the jungle as well if you want to flex that. Also should mention that Adept now in the mid lane for Östersund was previously called Adex, and he was been playing in the last tournament, the last Nordic Championship this summer, where he actually got to the semi-final. So he's an experienced Nordic mid laner and going to be rocking LeBlanc versus Zoe. Very much a skill matchup in the mid lane.
Absolutely, and LeBlanc, of course, with a huge kill pressure, is going to have to run the cleanse, obviously versus the Zoe, just because there's so much damage potential if you get hit by the Sleepy Trouble bubble. And here looking at the second round of bans, there's the Sivir ban for Östersund's FK, Alistar ban, and finally a Caitlyn ban, so focus on these crit marksmen.
Taking some early pressure there off in the bottom lane with focusing more of those like early game pushing AD carries. So the late game scalers like the Jinx, like the Tristan are still open if that's something that Spectral wants to go for. One more champion that has not been receiving any attention whatsoever so far is Sylas, that I think we should really point some attention to. I think especially for Placeholder, if they want to play this Jarvan in the jungle, Sylas in the top lane would be a very interesting pick, actually being able to steal 4 impactful ultimates at the moment.
Absolutely, and that is something that Placeholder123 could be looking for. Another champion that is interesting is the Morgana, about to receive a little bit of an update in the coming patch. For now, she's going to have her old good looks. She is going towards the bot lane, and here's Vayne, a champion that is so interesting in so many matchups and actually could definitely work out versus the Estrel and the Morganas. She is very hard to hit.
Yeah, for sure, going to be avoiding a lot of those skill shots, but that is not what I was expecting. We did talk about the late game AD carries, though, and the ones that can shred through tanks, and she can definitely get through a Sion very quickly. One of the strongest champions at taking down that big top lane tank, and it's gonna be, yeah, there it is, the Sylas. Kind of happy that I called that one. So it's gonna be Sylas up the top lane, and then Jarvan in the jungle for Placeholder.
Very happy also to see the Sylas being played
No, I'm just
this
happy
tournament.
that I got it right. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so you're happy about that. I am happy. Of course, I'm happy for you as well.
Thank you.
For that. No, you're welcome. But Sylas, just in general, I'm really happy to see Sylas being played up in the top lane, being the champion that just arrived on the patch before this, I think, and he was buffed on this patch. He had a lot of problems in the early stages when he was just released, and now he's starting to shape up quite a bit. The final pick for Ostersund's FK is the Kha'Zix. So a little bit of differences in these team compositions, but aggressive junglers on both sides.
Yeah, for sure, going to be a lot of attention towards that role early on, and they can pretty much go to any lane here at the moment. I mean, if a skill shot in any lane lands pretty much, that's going to be potential to grab a kill there for both junglers. Also got to say that I took a good look at Östersund's draft here, because I spoke a bit with their manager and coach earlier on, and he said that they lost the games to Nirki because they had some bad drafts. They were not happy with the champions that they picked up, and so far I don't think there's anything wrong with this draft from Östersund. They have a very well-rounded composition with frontline, with engage, with wave clear. I don't think they've messed up this time.
Absolutely, and now we'll see if they can capitalize on this good draft, because just looking at these players, they are definitely a skillful roster.
Yeah, gotta say that they are looking like Sweden is looking like the second strongest region when it just comes to individual players. In my opinion, we've got Denmark at #1, then Sweden #2. Of course, I would never be biased like that
No,
because of
obviously not.
Swedish. No, but I think Östersund can definitely challenge for a top spot in this tournament, but they're gonna have to prove it here. And I think starting versus Placeholder is a good shot to prove themselves, especially when they're up against the Vayne, because this gives you a lot of opportunities to make things happen early on, simply because Vayne really doesn't have lane priority early.
No, absolutely. But Placeholder, the Finnish team coming into this tournament, did not look like favorites on paper, but have absolutely proven themselves for these first games that they have been playing. So I'm really happy to see that Finland are quite shaping up, and I'm interested to see like Sweden versus Finland. Like no matter what happens, I will be happy to either see Finland show themselves and prove that they are deserving of this spot in the Nordic Championship, or just simply because Sweden, if Sweden wins, I'll just be happy because I'm biased like that.
Yeah, of course, that sounds good. But I think it's a good point that you bring up that Finland, last time in the summer split, when there were no like spots for each country, that it just all the teams qualified and no Finnish teams were able to qualify. There were a lot of Danish and Swedish teams. And now there are 2 Finnish teams at the top of the standing. So I think they're really here to try to prove themselves.
Exactly.
And so that you have to count on the Finnish region as well.
Like that's gotta make you happy to see Finland really showing up. So we'll see this with this, especially with this team composition, with the SWE, with the Silas up in top lane, with Vayne. They're so mechanical champions, so much skill involved with these, so I'm very happy to see them go for these kind of strategy as well. We saw Norway as weak as well for last stream, as they have been shaping up to really prove to be this mechanical and strategical team, and I hope to see the same thing from Finland.
Yeah, for sure. And talking a bit more about what we're expecting here in this early game, I'd say these are 2 junglers with kill pressure in pretty much every lane early on, and that's not something that you see that often. A lot of the times, junglers at these level needs to farm that level 6 before they can make a lot of things happen, simply because the teams are so good with the vision. But now there's hard CC all around. These junglers can pretty much go to any lane and have good gank setup, and they both provide a lot of damage early on with the Kha'Zix and the Jarvan respectively.
All right, so let's talk about what will happen in this situation. Let's say that Silas gets a couple of kills up top lane, or gets an early lead up top lane. What will happen in this matchup with this new champion versus the classical old school Sion?
I think if Sion falls behind, he's diveable with this top side trio that's going to be there for Placeholder. So say Tanu's going to be able to get an early gank, put Christ behind on this Sion. If they can then roam up with a Zoe and do the 3-man plays on Sion over and over, they can put him really far behind. And the Sion that's been put far behind on the items net, it's not fun to play at all, because you want to frontline, you want to tank those Zoe bubbles for your squishes, but you're just going to get one shot by that.
So we'll see where these junglers will go. We see the Jarvan, played by Taimu, will be playing down towards the bot lane, is going for the blue buff invade. We'll see what kind of response we'll have from Marcoon here, as he is on the Krugs right now, not really having any response to this, although Tanu, I think, was spotted on a ward while walking up to this blue buff.
No, Tanu actually was very smart with that flag and drag over the wall into the Dragon Pit, so was able to avoid all the wards, which is giving him a good early game lead, as we see Marcoon still on the top side. So now he spots Tanu out on that bottom side crab, and I think he wants to go for the enemy blue buff, but his lanes does not have priority, so if Tanu really wants to play this a bit risky, he can try to pull off a 3 buff early game here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcoon, of course, knowing that there should be wards around the second Rift Scuttler, probably not wanting to show himself right now, is a little bit lower in HP than Tanu in the jungle right now, and there's a lot of priority for the Finnish team at the moment. Marcoon hiding around the Rift Scuttler. He has spotted Tanu right now.
Well, this is going to be so volatile because both of these mid laners have one-shot potential on each other.
Night Fury, though, decides to go for a dueling situation. Not the best thing to do when you do not know where your opponent's jungler is. That is the first blood. Quick pickup in the mid lane.
Wow, that was really nice from Marcoon actually. He was able to sneak into that bush, and because Night Fury had Tanu on that, he had his jungler on that side of the river. Oh, I'm gonna have to stop myself though.
Oh, Shred having to flash away with the Ignite on him. He's going to counter Ignite on Spectral, so he goes down fairly low. Unforgiven, mostly untouched during that little skirmish.
Yeah, I was just going to say about that mid lane skirmish that as a mid laner, you always early game want to be hugging the side of the lane that your jungler is on. Because Tanu was on the top side, Night Fury really hugged the top side, but then Markoon had been able to sneak into that bush, and that's why he could just walk up to the SWE and kill him.
So a smart play from Markoon, still behind just a little bit when it comes to the farm, as Tanu right now on 28 CS to Markoon's 17. We'll have one more fairly soon, or 4 more right here. But Markoon, where will he be going with this Kha'Zix now?
Yeah, he's going to look to return towards the mid lane. The SWE does still have the flash available, did not use any summoners early on, and that is a nice dodge on the wards. Is he going to go for the mid lane setup here? Yes.
Yeah, he's back in mid lane. Flash was used by Night Fury, and Night Fury going to turn around. Markoon taking a little bit of damage, but Night Fury in a very difficult situation here with the wave pushing away from him.
Yeah, had the roam from Shred coming up as well, and they're actually getting pushed into this lane as well. One of the real only matchup where Vayne can actually have some early game pressure and be able to control the wave Unforgiven with the TP though, compared to the heal from Spectral. So Unforgiven's gonna be able to go back and get back to that lane quite quickly.
Janny a little bit low, but look at the HP regeneration that he has with that play. And the Flash will not be able to get Christ out safely. That's the 1v1. And Jage though has to flash away just barely at the nick of time.
Not a good flash from Christ there at all. The E was coming out from the Sylas, but it still flashed in a straight line, and Sylas was able to hook himself in. And as you mentioned, the healing there is absolutely insane, especially when you're below 40% HP and get that bonus healing. So very interested to see what Janji can do on this Sylas, because there's a lot of strong ultimates that he can steal. And I'm also curious what the first buy is going to be here. He's gonna go towards the Iceborne Gauntlet and then maybe towards a bit of a tankier style. He could also swap it up and still go for the more AP heavy variant though.
Yeah, absolutely. So now Sunfire Cape being the item of choice for Krisa, moving towards it with the Cinder Hulk, or Bami's Cinder rather, and Janny with the Sheen. So Janny should be feeling fairly happy up top lane right now, and of course Sylas heals so much when he's below 40% HP. Now in the mid lane, there is another big fight coming up, but a good reaction by Night Fury this time around, having his jungler around, and oh, Markoon getting dangerously low. No cooldowns available though on the blue side, so no quick kill pickup right now.
And there you can see that both teams knows what the priority should be at the moment. Night Fury, without the flash, means that he's going to be vulnerable to ganks from Markoon, which is why he's going there. But then Placeholder, of course, knows that that's what Markoon's going to want to be doing, so Tanu stays around for the counter gank as well. And even though the first blood has ended up into the hands of the Kha'Zix, there's still a big CS lead for Tanu, which means that they are about even on gold so far.
Absolutely, almost 20 CS up versus this Kha'Zix. But up top lane, we talked about this Sion. When he falls behind, he falls behind. Look at that trade, Sylas into Sion. Not looking too good for Sweden at the moment.
Yeah, if they want to be putting more attention towards the top side, I believe that they can still use more resources there if you are able to push out Night Fury in the mid lane, and then with the Jarvan level 6, able to rotate there and get the dive off towards the Signy. I mean, he's scared to dive with that passive, but you do have the Cataclysm to lock that sad zombie up, so definitely something that they can look to do later on. Right now, need that level 6 for Tana though before he can do anything too crazy.
Yeah, this is a very sad zombie. He's behind 1 level at the moment, and quite a little bit of gold as well. Should be around 500 gold behind, something around that situation. Tanu now invading yet again around the blue buff. Could be looking at bot lane as he is eyeing this Ezreal. Unforgiven, dangerously low. He has no heal next to the Morgana. I think they might be waiting for Shred. Face checking this bush right now and not going to find Tanu inside of it. Tanu has been spotted onwards. Still gonna stick around though as Night Fury is moving towards the bot lane.
Look for the Condemn and the Cataclysm to be used in combination. You can create a wall for Vayne to be able to use that stun towards, so that is why these combination of champions is so strong, but they're not going to be able to dive because that good ward went down from Shred, so they're able to still stay safe. And now this Morgana has flash available once more, so it's not as vulnerable to that Cataclysm.
Sion in mid lane. Getting damage off on Night Fury, 3 versus 1 proves to be too much for the ZOE as another kill lands in the mid lane. 0-2 right now for Night Fury, and the turret plating about to fall, gonna give Adept even more gold in his pockets.
Yeah, we talked about how vulnerable the ZOE is without the flash into the LeBlanc, and Kreis makes some good work there, able to just push out the top lane and then use that ultimate to roam down and pick up the kill in the 1 versus 1 situation. And still, you gotta say that this is a bit of a risky build from Night Fury. No Merc threads early on, which is so strong into both the LeBlanc, the Morgana, and the Sion when it comes to avoiding these ganks. Still has gone for the mana though, which is a good choice when it just comes to keeping the push up.
Marcoon looking to relieve his top laner a little bit. The steal comes out of Genji. He's going to use that invisibility to get out. In the mid lane though, a 2 versus 1 proves to be too much for the Swedish mid laner. Look at Tanu, so low with the blue buff. I think that was what made Adept greedy just a little bit for that, but hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Not going to land him anything, but Marcoon at least can go for some of these camps and try to get some CS back from this Jarvan.
That was extremely close from Adept. Not sure you have to take that 1 versus 2 situation, but still had to go for it when you are that aggressive LeBlanc player. Still gotta say that Marcoon and Adept is really the strong duo that have to make things happen at this point in the game. They both have unlocked their ultimates now. The first evolve is on towards that Q from Marcoon, and cost 6 LeBlanc, that is such a strong 2 versus 2 fighting duo. I want to see them keep trying to take these fights, go invade the jungle of Tanu, be able to keep the pressure up, because this is one of the strongest 2v2 duelists that you can think of.
Now, Yanni up top lane is going to recall. He noticed that Marcoon had stolen their blue buff, so he was decided to play a little bit more defensively right there. Down in the bot lane, everything looks fairly even as this Vayne is having a good lane up 9 CS versus the Ezreal Morgana, but a lot of focus has come from Finland as well down there with a little bit of roams from both mid lane and the jungle.
Here comes Tanu though.
Up top lane, Kreise is in a bad position, has to flash away this time the correct way. Was not hit by those chains this time around. Marcoon was not anywhere near that fight. Instead, he is mid lane yet again. Here comes the reaction though, gonna force the flash from Night Fury as he jumped back and forward just a little bit too much, and again so low, but no more kills for Adept.
Yeah, staying around for a really long time versus that LeBlanc. Knew he had the Jarvan backup, but still a bit too risky there for my taste. So let's take a look now at the game as it's starting to calm down a bit. The Sylas have been using the Sion ulti to get back towards the top side, which means that if Crisis is actually going to choose to walk back at the moment, as he is still at a gold deficit, there's actually he's using the ultimate. Okay, so I thought this was going to be a TP advantage situation for Placeholder, but Crisis gets the ultimate off cooldown.
Yeah, well, not going to use that teleport, and instead holding on to that for as long as they can. It is a Mountain Dragon up right now. Both teams might be eyeing that one. Spectral about to hit his first item. You can see Unforgiven has gone for the Mana Mune as the first buy on this Ezreal. No Sheen so far.
Yeah, both these teams with very strong Baron takes when it's going to come to those later stages. So whoever picks up this first Mountain Dragon is going to get such a big boost when it comes to just having that passive pressure on the map. Whenever you go out of vision for 5 seconds, you don't have vision on the Baron, that can be gone. When you've got a Vayne on one side being able to shred that really easily, and a Kha'Zix with a Q evolve on the other side doing so much damage to that neutral objective.
Good placement on the ward right there. Marcoon is spotted. He doesn't quite know it as he puts his control ward down. He's going to see Tanu right now. Can't really do anything about this, and Saiton is up as well to clear this vision. So good vision control right now from Placeholder123 as they're preparing around this dragon. Marcoon also has been spotted yet again, and Finland knows what's up. Question is, what are they going to do with it? Up top lane, a little bit of a skirmish here. Sylas versus Sion yet again. Kreise looking so much stronger this time around, has picked up some magic resist, has the extra armor. But Janji also very annoying to handle as Sylas with that sustain that he has.
Yeah, those heals that are coming out are just insane from that Kingslayer, that the ability is aptly named. Looking a bit more towards what the teams want to be setting up for right now. It's such an even game. most of the games we've been seeing so far in the tournament have been quite snowbally. There's been a lot of kills going down early on, some crazy jungle fights, and so far these teams have been playing quite calm and collected. And if I'd have to say that favors one team, I'm gonna say that Placeholder should be the one benefiting more from this game, just dragging on to the later stages, because they've got the Vayne with a lot of peel and setup, and the Silas as well, which scales super good.
Placeholder not really doing anything to break this momentum. They're just sitting around in their lanes. Turret plating about to fall. Not that many plates have been taken in either lane. And look again, Marcoon coming up top lane.
But so is Tanu. This could be a 2 versus 2 fight.
Janji was not slow, but I think he saw Marcoon. And Janji is tanky enough, stealing the ultimate now, turning around on the side. Instead, Marcoon running back. A good ultimate being used, another knock-up right now. Here comes the flash forward as Tanu is so low, but the Silas proves to be too much to handle, forcing the flash, but a kill for a flash is never something to be sad about in mid lane. Another fight is showing up here. The exhaust being put down immediately by Night Fury. Adept still chasing this. A little sleep and trouble bubble. Night Fury still not having that one off cooldown, and Palostar not gonna hit anything. Oh! Actually, it does! Wow! From the max range, he finds Adept and completely wrecks him from half HP to 0. Night Fury should be very happy with that, as Adept have been pushing so much pressure on him in the mid lane.
Wow, that was balanced right there from Night Fury, really using this champion to the greatest of his ability, and also picking up that exhaust randomly off the W, because there's no one running exhaust on the team of Ostersunds. Just got that randomly when the LeBlanc came down in the river, which you'd have to say is kind of lucky, but still, he really deserved it with that outplay.
I gotta say though that you can see exactly what Night Fury had. Adept knew that he had it. Adept had the flash up, and he disrespected Night Fury and the damage that a SWE has. So even though, of course, that was a little bit lucky to get the exhaust, but Adept, he knew what was up.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that you've got to play around in this. Experienced mid laner that's been proving to be a strong player in the Nordic Championship before. He's not making too many things happen on this LeBlanc so far. You want to see him be able to push out the wave and then able to roam and impact the map. There's not been a lot of roams going down from this LeBlanc.
Oh, absolutely not. Instead, it's been focusing in the mid lane, been focusing this SWE matchup instead. And has gotten a few kills off it together, of course, with Marcoon, with the first blood we mentioned earlier. But for now, yeah, it's a little bit of a standstill in the mid lane. Night Fury showing his teeth down this bot lane. It's just a farm party right now. Vayne into the Ezreal. The Blade of the Ruin King, of course, is a good spike for the Vayne. Now running back and forth, not going to be hit by anything, and oh, Shred baiting this quite a bit. Spectral being shut down right now. And Titan in this situation has to back away with the teleport coming in. There's not much that Tanu can do. He tries, but to no avail to get Marcoon before he goes. And Christ has arrived. The Dragon, of course, was already picked up by Placeholder123, and now with the Silas up top lane, I'm not sure if this was the best thing that could happen for Ostersunds FK, as they are losing quite a bit of HP on this top turret and didn't get that much from that bot lane teleport.
Yeah, you've got to question if that was the right decision, still being able to pick up the kill in the AD carry duel. You'd have to say that's pretty fortunate for them. Speaking more about the bottom lane though, what I'm really surprised about in this Ezreal versus Vayne matchup is how much damage the tower has taken for Ostersund. It's almost gone down. A lot of tower plating's been going over straight into the pocket of Spectral, which means that he's been able to not fall too far behind, even though Unforgiven have been picking up the kills on the Ezreal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in a good position, a good reaction from Night Fury. Not going to be enough, I think. Maybe the binding hits and the damage is just ticking. In the end, Adept managed to flash forward to get that kill, and that was too much CC for the SWE to handle. Night Fury going down yet again.
Yeah, she does a lot of damage, but she's still kind of vulnerable without having any really defensive spells, except for that Sleep and Trouble Bubble, which you can, of course, get a lot of CC down with, but not enough to stay alive. No big objectives going to be going down here for Ostersund, who were the ones initiating the lane swap, putting Unforgiven and Shred up towards the top side of the map. Maybe putting more focus towards this Herald now that the Dragon's gone down.
Arcane Barrage and an E forward, but Unforgiven next to the wall has nowhere to run. Can he turn this around? No, he does not, but his jungler can instead. Marcoon arrives just to pick up Spectral after Unforgiven has already gone down. So Unforgiven just, I think, a split second too early with that engage.
Yeah, that was really close. He wanted to land the W and then use Dark and shift forward to be able to proc that damage, but the W ended up missing. So he was not able to win out in that 1v1 duel. Still, you've got to say that Spectral also has the stronger dueling champion in general, with the Blade of Rune King especially. The life steal is really important. Unforgiven, deceptively strong in these duels though because of all of his armor. Right now sitting at 140 armor on that Ezreal with the Iceborne Gauntlet and the Ninja Tabai. So that is definitely strong when it comes to dueling these AD champions like the Vayne and the Jarvan, but not going to do a lot against the SWE or the Sylas.
Absolutely. Also, Unforgiven just finished his Mana Mune. We'll see if this goes. Looks like he is going for the second tier.
Yeah.
In the mid lane, Shred is around, finds Dark Binding, and oh, this could be a quick pickup. A good reaction there from the duo mid and support. Though I think this might be too much to handle. Sleep Trouble Bubble is a little bit difficult to run away from, and Shred has to give away his own life for the life of Saitan.
Yeah, I really like SWE together with a jungler that does a lot of burst damage, and you can see this AD Jarvan that just EQ auto then proccing the passive does so much damage. So as soon as you land one Sleepy Trouble Bubble, that means that if the Jarvan goes in, that's pretty much a guaranteed kill. Speaking of kills, the Marcoon is here.
Arcane Shift forward, not being the best tactic right now, still going 1-for-1. Flash available for the Zoe, is going to be able to survive this for now, and this was not the plan right here for the Swedish team, or actually was it, turning it around and going 3-for-3 versus Finland.
Wow,
Look, a little bit crazy right there with the Essence Arcane Shift forward from Unforgiven, and then just quick return kills on both sides back and forth.
Yeah, these fights are so close at the moment. Not sure if Placeholder needs to be the one initiating, though you can see that they are far up into enemy territory, taking these fights without the proper vision there. They had no idea that Marcoon was sitting in the bush just behind the target that they were engaging on. So, gotta say that Placeholder, I don't think you have to be forcing these fights at this point. You're just 20 minutes in the game with a Vayne Zoe Sylas comp. Don't need to go that hard, friends. You can just try to stay calm at this point when you don't know where the enemy jungler is. You don't need to Jarvan EQ next to a bush where he's sitting.
Absolutely, and now Spectral about to have the Guinsoo's Rage Blade, but the Ezreal already having all that armor, having the finished Mana Mune. He has quite a bit of power on this champion. The Ocean Dragon is up, not the strongest dragon at this point of the game. No one is really laning that much at the moment, but of course, if you can get it on an Ezreal, you will be happy, having that extra little sustain with mana and HP. It looks like Ostersunds FK are going for this dragon up top lane. Janny still pushing. Teleport is up for Janny. Christ does not quite have his jet, but it's still going to be a dragon for Ostersunds FK. The goal is almost dead even at this point. 10 kills for 10. 600 gold lead for Placeholder 123. But as you mentioned, they've been trying to engage quite a bit right now. Now they have the Guinsoo's Rage Blade on the Vayne. Versus the Esther is going to take quite a bit of more time for Unforgiven to stack up his second tier. We'll see what happens right now, as it looks to be some action around the mid lane. Yet again, so much focus on this mid lane for this game.
Yeah, not the greatest wave clear on the side of Ostersund, so if Placeholder really wants to go for the siege and push here, they could try to do it, but on the other hand, there is still the Ezreal and the Vayne, not the strongest sieging AD carry, as you all know, so no real opportunities to siege this. I think the choice has to be to try to split, try to make the team of Ostersund, like drag them apart, not let them stay together, but there is the mobility boots Kha'Zix, who's going to be so close at closing the gaps, perhaps onto the Sylas.
Marcoon looking for these picks. He finds the Sylas.
Oh, the black shield!
Yeah, he's going to avoid getting knocked away with the black shield, but not sure if that was what he wanted or not. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, though, is going to hit him straight in the face. And Night Fury moving forward, and the Hook of Doom will finish the job. Marcoon going a little bit too deep versus this fairly tanky Sylas.
And you can see why we've been talking so much about the Zoe. As soon as that one skill shot lands and there is no QSS, no cleanse on the enemy. That's just a signal for all your team to go all in, and they have so much follow-up. There's the Jarvan EQ, there's the Thresh hook, and during all this time when they're able to pick up kills on the other side of the map, Spectral is split pushing on this Vayne. He's soaking solo XP, solo farm on this supreme late game carry, compared to this Ezreal who's sitting in the mid lane together with the rest of his team, not getting solo experience and not getting solo farm.
Looking at the EXP difference, there is a level advantage for Spectral. See, Placeholder123 now eyeing the Baron. There is zero vision at this Baron for Ostersunds FK. So Shred is trying to get a little bit closer. Hits one binding, so he knows that something is in that bush. Not too keen to find out what.
Yeah, they need to be so careful at this point because we're talking about a 2-item Vayne with a Blade of the Ruined King and the Ginsu's Rage Blade with a Mountain Dragon. So that Baron is going to be going down very quickly. Has that attack speed from the Jarvan E as well, which was recently buffed right now. It grants 27.5% attack speed when he throws down that flag. So that Baron is gonna be goners. If they get like 10 seconds to free hit that, Östersund need to be able to do something about it.
Absolutely. Christ now moving towards the Baron. You can see with this vision control, Östersund's FK are very hesitant to move into the vision control of Placeholder123. They're trying to get down the wards, trying to take back some control around this very important objective. They know that if someone is caught out of position, that could mean a quick Baron take. They need to be very careful with this. Maybe, perhaps, try to bait something. You can see Shred moving around, being ready with this Dark Binding. Spectral up top lane, still farming. Marcoon hiding inside of that bush, waiting for Spectral to move closer to it. But I'm not sure if they've seen how many of Placeholder123 that are up here. The binding hits the jungler, and oh, that damage burst is so hard to handle for Tanu as he has to run away, and the Black Shield will save Adept, as that was a good death sentence that landed.
That's why we know and love LeBlanc. She can always look for these sort of catches around here and there. We saw that this is not a tanky Jarvan. He's been going for the Warrior into Sterak's Gauge, which is not really a build that we're seeing a ton of on this Jarvan. Usually, it's more of that tanky variant. Engage goes down towards Night Fury though, but he simply walks away from that side of the Sion ulti.
Yeah, Night Fury wanted to have nothing to do with that. Tries to make something happen, and oh, the Dark Binding! It hits a really bad target. Ostersund's FK, their bottom has to flash away from this. Unforgiven did not expect the death sentence to land on him with a big tank standing in front of him. Another Sleeper Trouble Bubble finds its mark, and oh, it's going to deal some damage, but not as much as I had expected actually, as Night Fury has been under quite a bit of pressure in the mid lane for this game.
And you have to look at the way Unforgiven is playing on this Ezreal. He's been hyped up as a very strong mechanical player, but there's just what I was about to mention. He's been making some mistakes here. He's been misstepping multiple times, missing key abilities, arcane shifting forward when he's not supposed to. The manager of Ostersund that I talked to said that he's a young talent, he has some very strong mechanics, but he's inexperienced, and I think that is showing, and that might be the Baron to Placeholder. It's going to be a fight for sure.
Yeah, Night Fury showing how it's done in Finland, and now this Baron is up for grabs. Adept tries to get close to it, immediately has to back away, but it looks like this Baron take might be interrupted by this Sion. Christ flashing over the wall is going to survive just a little bit, but the Vayne deals so much damage even though you're a tank. It doesn't even matter. Christ is gone. Marcoon, though, is around. Do they have enough vision to still contest this Baron? Night Fury is zoning to the best of his abilities. Baron down on half HP right now. Marcoon moving closer together with Shred. Dark Binding not going to hit anything but the Purple Worm. Night Fury still on the side of this. Marcoon wants to try to go for this steal, it looks like. 2k on this Baron. Marcoon moves forward, jumping in. He's going to get it. No, he is not. Night Fury's got an Unforgiven. No, he got it. He gets the Baron Nashor. He gets the steal. And that was so important. Baron somehow being taken by the Swedish team, and that, I think, was exactly what they were looking for, although they have to sacrifice so many of the team members for this. Gonna have to lose the mid lane turret as well. Markoon being the hero of his team right now.
This game is insanely close, Sang. As soon as you think that one team's gonna take a decisive lead for the first time in 27 minutes, the Baron gets stolen away by Markoon. Great play on that Kha'Zix, being able to take away the Baron, and now this game is neck and neck as Baron buffs are on Adept and Shred. So Ostersund, if they want to, they can easily split with Adept off in a side wave, Baron buffing up those minions, and then you're gonna be having so much pressure on the map, and you can see that's exactly what they're doing. Adept is up in the top side, giving the Baron buff to those minions. This is gonna be a power play for Ostersund for the next few minutes.
Absolutely, this 1.6k lead for Placeholder123 will be neglected by this Baron buff in the hands of Adept, who is pushing this top lane. As we have seen earlier, there aren't really anyone that can handle him one-on-one, so now it's up to Adept to prove his split pushing powers. And also with all of this magic damage in the hands of these, so it's much more difficult to handle the Baron empowered minions. Here comes Janny up top lane. Adept will move away. They don't have that much vision around the top side. He needs to be careful not to get caught unawares. In the mid lane though, this is going to be the turret pick up by Ostersunds FK defending. The siege minion, of course, the death sentence will be annoying, dragging it into range. So this turret's still standing. Adept, can he handle this? As he is a little bit scared to move too close to this Sylas. Although he has all the bursts he needs. We saw earlier the Sylas is quite tanky, has the Mercury Threads, has the Spirit Visage.
Yeah, with a lot of ability to get the shields as well from his abilities. Johnny is not going to be any sort of threat to get 1v1 here by Adept unless he messes up by a lot. I want to take a quick look at the items once more here, because I think we're seeing some interesting stuff from Spectral here. I was not entirely sure how you were going to be building the Vayne after the rework. You can see the first two items makes a lot of sense. The Blade of the Ruin King into the Rage Blade. And then he buys a Giant's Belt. Just sits on the Giant's Belt, then buys a Phantom Dancer, which now gives that lifeline shield, making you a lot harder to kill. I believe this Giant's Belt is also going to be building into the Frozen Mallet, because that's the only thing that's going to make sense. I don't think Frozen Mallet makes a ton of sense, but it's the only thing that builds from a Giant Belt that makes kind of some sense. So this is going to be a Vayne that's going to be pretty hard to kill.
Yeah, absolutely. And still, Vayne, with the percentage health damage, will still be able to handle the Scion. There aren't that many items you can build to neglect true damage. So we'll see what Kreis can do to handle this in the mid lane. Again, Night Fury being the main focus of this jungler. Markoon looking for something, but Sweden can't really do that much with this Baron buff they have picked up so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've even gotten a... Yeah, they got the bottom lane tower, so at least they've gotten some gold. And you can see it's just 800 gold separating these two teams 31 minutes in. This is an extremely close game. As the Vayne and the Zoe are farming up, though, this is soon going to be a Rabadon's death cap on the Zoe, and that's going to be a hard time for the side of Ostersund. So I think they just want to be keeping this siege up, because the longer the game goes, the more attention has to be put towards Unforgiven on this Ezreal.
Seraph's Embrace finished now on Unforgiven, so that shield will also give him a little bit more survivability. In comparison to Spectral with his giant spell, looking as you talked about for this Frozen Mallet.
Yeah, and if this game goes really late, if it goes on for another like 10 minutes, this is going to be all up to Unforgiven for Ostersund. He's going to be scaling so well on this Ezreal. Not really in the champions that can threaten him too much.
Oh, the move forward is a little bit too cheeky by Night Fury. The Scion, though, not surviving for that long. We talked about it. It's difficult to survive on a Scion. Adept as well tries to assassinate this Vayne. Can't really do it. The Sylas stolen the ultimate of Kreis. Not going to hit anything with it, though. But Janny makes sure that his team is in a better position. Can push up this mid lane.
Very cool Scion Zoe interaction there with the Decimating Smash landing for the stun. This is going to be the mid lane tower taking damage. You can see that Jarvan flag making this Vayne attack so extremely fast.
And also still difficult to handle, but oh, look at the damage! Shred now going golden, Spectral dangerously low, there he goes, Janny sole survivor for this huge power play. All of a sudden from Sweden turning it around. Going 3 for 0, even 4 for 0 even in that exchange. Baron up in 45 seconds, Dragon 35. They got A couple of different objectives they can decide to go for. Can't really get Baron before the respawns, but they can set up for it.
And I think that's the first real decisive team fight we've been seeing in this game. Ostersund, they've been taking a lot of pressure, they've been forced to play defensive, but then as soon as they see the right opportunity, Adept makes the big play on this LeBlanc with a Rabadon's death cap, jumps into the entire enemy team with a WR combination, does so much damage, and then it's just cleanup duty for Markoon on the Cossacks. Very impressive from Östersund, and they've taken quite a decisive lead at this point.
Markoon now has the Guardian Angel, so he can be a little bit more aggressive. Shred about to have his Zhonya's off cooldown also, so we'll be able to go for the same kind of strategy for the next fight. Still not that good vision control from the Swedish team. That is a little bit of an issue right now, as they are around the Baron. They know, of course, that they have more vision right now. The Placeholder not going to face check that Death Bush. Still sticking around this.
A lot of it's going to come down to Night Fury here, honestly. Was forced to burn the flash in the 1v1 with Adept, because what really scares me about Östersund is the lack of magic resist. No MR, no QSS, no Mercury threads, and this is a Rabadon's Death Cap Zoe versus targets that are very squishy with low magic resist. This is going to be tough for Östersund if the bubbles land. But Night Fury's not been able to land those key skill shots in the last few minutes, which is why Placeholder has been falling behind.
As for Night Fury being completely red right now, anytime he hits a Sleepy Trouble bubble, the follow-up is there, and he gets knocked up in the air, he gets CC'd and bursted immediately. So right now he's a little bit too low to be able to join this fight, hanging around the sides. Being able to just stop this Baron right now should make Placeholder123 happy.
Yeah, there is the blade on the Ezreal right now, so he's starting to really hurt on towards this Baron. Also talked about the Q evolve on the Cossacks. He can do a lot when it comes to just that dragon. Oh, that's a good skill shot.
Max range binding, but the Lantern will make sure Tanu gets out alive. Pushing out the mid lane right now, the Finnish team tries to put some pressure on this map before turning to the Baron. They know what's happening. Redemption coming out from the Zoe, but still look at the HP of Spectral. Took so much damage from Adept. Now Janny moving forward, getting CC'd immediately as he gets out of that golden aura. He cannot do enough. Now it's a 4 versus 5 situation. Baron under half HP. The question is, can Tanu do a reverse situation from this? Shard threat looking so low, but in the end, Baron has gone over to Östersund's FK yet again.
That was a single battle star, and Unforgiven and Shred, by the way, taking a lot of hurt. But still, when it comes to these fights, I think what you've got to look for are the mid laners. Pretty much everyone else on these teams is just going to be providing a consistent presence in these team fights. But when it comes to Night Fury and Adept, it's all going to be about how they land those skill shots, if they land them, who they land it on. So when it comes to the next fight, which is going to be the push coming in for Östersund, you've got to look at Night Fury. If that Sleepy Trouble bubble lands and there's no QSS to counter that out, that's going to be very difficult.
Absolutely, and Adept proved to be a monster in that fight, made sure that Spectral couldn't even join it. And without Spectral, Gingy moving forward, not having any follow-up whatsoever, and the team just had to sacrifice him and the Baron. But of course, as you mentioned, Night Fury with the Paddle Star max range has so much damage.
Yeah, I think, Johnny, on this composition, when you've got the Zoe, you can't really just start and engage by yourself. I think you need to get the poke skills to land from the Zoe and then go for the engage. I don't think you can just go for it straight up.
Oh, this is a big problem right now for Cries. He has nowhere to run. It's 1 versus 3. He's trying to survive for as long as possible. Finally, Saitan actually gets that kill. And Spectral, well, although probably not too happy about that, still getting the kill on his team is important. But in the mid lane at the same time, there goes the turret. Up top lane, same thing just happened. So 2 turrets for 1 death. Östersund's FK will not be too sad about that, I think.
Yeah, you can see the insane tank killing power of this Rage Blade Vayne, who's now picked up a Hex Drinker. So that is one really tanky champion. After the first 2 damage items, he's pretty much been going for 3 more or less tank-oriented items on this insane damage outputting AD carry. So really interesting to see how you itemize that Bane at this point. Also got to say that I'm very worried for Unforgiven with a BF Sword rather than the QSS as his final item here. Yes, I get that he trusts his support, and I think it might prove to be a correct choice if the Black Shield's on point for Shred, but if there's ever a slight slip up from Shred and the Sleepy Trouble Bubble hits Unforgiven, this game is going to be over.
Yeah, this is all or nothing going with this kind of build. You can see again Night Fury looking for those Sleepy Trouble Bubbles. The response though, anytime he has hit those for this part of the game for the past 5 minutes has been that a Dark Binding, a knock-up comes, and he can't really move forward with the Paddle Star without sacrificing his own life. So that is something that he needs to be a little bit more careful with right now, which has let up a little bit of the pressure that this Zoe has put on the map. It's a little bit different when it comes to a Zoe in this kind of situation with all of this hard CC in comparison to a game where there are many squishy targets. And as soon as you hit that Sleepy Trouble Bubble, you can know that the rest of the team will be there to help you. For now, Zayton on this Thresh, I feel has been doing well on it, but not doing anything special. The big playmakers looking out for this game has been around the Spectral, it's been around Tanu, making things happen together with Night Fury, and on the other side, Adept has just been a monster looking for those flags. Yeah,
he's been having so much pressure on this LeBlanc, and when it comes to his playstyle, it's not always about going in, it's just sitting there, and the enemy team knowing that you're sitting there and that you're able to go in, that's going to be putting on more pressure than actually Wing forward and using all of your skills. So I love the patience that he's been having now on this LeBlanc. Gotta say for Placeholder right now that I talked a bit about the split pushing potential of their team comp. With a Vayne, with a tanky build, you can use it on split push, the Silas as well.
So look at that damage! Adapt moving forward, not only stealing the blue buff, stealing the life and the respect in this game. And now it's Tamu in a little bit of trouble, being slowed down by the Frozen Gauntlet. Here comes the teleport. Christ has arrived, being hooked at first, but still too tanky for anyone to handle him. The second hook not gonna land on anything. Turret going down, and this is an open inhibitor now for the Swedish team.
30 seconds and Night Fury. Östersund might look to finish this game. Placeholder need to be on point with every skill shot from this point on.
Oh, look at Tanu, look at the damage that he's dealing together with Spectral. Now turning this around, finding another hook, getting the Morgana, getting the Sion with the rest of the Swedish team on the wrong side of that wall. There wasn't that much that could be done. Sweden, though, not finished with this. Death Sentence gonna hit another target, but is there any follow-up onto this? No, there is not. Unforgiving on a killing spree. Now she's enough, but can't really do anything. Now on Genji. Genji finds one, but there's a Guardian Angel in the way. Night Fury has respawned, but what can he do versus this?
1 versus 4, but they're all very low.
Night Fury looking for this. Another Guardian Angel popped. Can he do something with this? It's up to him now alone, but there's so much damage potential right here. Focus now on these turrets. Not gonna hit anything with Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and that is a big problem. Adapt also forcing him away, going forward yet again. Next being the focus, and there's nothing that he can do on his own. That is the game. The Swedish team, Ostersunds FK, after 41 minutes, managed to get away with the win.
Back to the sauna, says Adept there towards the end. 10, 3, and 5. On the LeBlanc, putting out some huge damages.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the MVP for me, for sure. Not the easiest game to play LeBlanc, and I mean, if you ever get hit by Hook, get hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble, get hit into the Cataclysm, you're going to be having a rough time, but he's just been avoiding all those skill shots and putting out the damage. Really impressed by Östersund because they were struggling early.
Definitely they were, but I gotta say that, like, for this game, this was like the textbook example of Zoe's strengths and weaknesses. Right, like when she is strong, she can run away with the game. She can make sure that anything that she hits with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble will go down. But if the other team know how to respond to this, they land one hard CC on her, she is gone. And in the end, Adept didn't even have to do that, just simply moved forward, W straight into the Zoe, and just showing that, hey, if you are squishy, you know what's gonna happen. This is like a late game LeBlanc. That was a enormous burst that turned this game around.
For sure, an impressive performance from him right there. Also Unforgiven, I criticized him earlier. I think he made some missteps, but then towards the later stages, he really stepped up and Arkin shifted forward at the right times, forcing these Vayne out of the fights later on and being a very important factor when it came to finishing out the game. Also got to say that I think the draft was pretty good for them. They had a very well-rounded team comp that they were able to execute properly. So I got to say I'm looking forward to game 2.
Absolutely, and game 2 will be here in just a couple of minutes, so do not go anywhere. We will be right back. And no, we're going with that after the break.
Okay, that's
so not going to use this box. So, okay, so
I was just too excited.
You have to calm yourself down right now. We're going to commercials. We'll be right back, and Henry will have time to calm himself down.